Hi everyone, and welcome to the third in the series in how to dimension. I'm remaking this video because the first one I put out was so full of errors it wasn't worth looking at. So those who looked at it, thank you very much. What I did in the previous one is I'd started off with this item, which I said I was going to show you how to dimension, but I was going to digress a bit just to show you some other interesting and sometimes exciting Solidworks features, right? So I'm going to show you something which I didn't get right in the last one, is what you can do, which is a great feature, is you can copy a sketch and you can paste it again. So I'm going to hit Control-C. You'll see that if I highlight a sketch or any of these features, you'll get these direction lines. I forget what they're called, but they'll show you where the sketch originates. So using the origin, of course, and then the top plane, and then all the features that are related to it, those that that depend on it directly, and those that depend on it indirectly. So this is a really interesting feature. Helps you to decide where you can put stuff or where things go wrong. I can show you this a bit later. So I've copied that sketch, and what I'd done in the previous video is I'd rolled back. If you hover your mouse over this bottom bar, it'll become a little hand, and then you can roll back your features as far as you want them to go, and it'll shut down those other features. Okay, so you can roll back all the way to the top and it'll shut everything down. I'm going to leave it like that, and then I'm going to go to a second configuration, which I've set up already. And what I would try to do in the previous video is I tried to paste, let's just unsuppress. By the way, unsuppressing and rolling back are not the same thing. So I had tried to paste I'm going to hit Control V, the sketch in here, and I'd actually tried to get it to go above the original feature from which it was derived, which you can't do, obviously. That doesn't make sense. So I'm going to hit Control Z. But if you now roll back, remember we're in the second configuration. If you roll back to the beginning and you make sure you've got the right plane selected, and you now paste the sketch, it'll paste that sketch in above the one from which you derived it, which is what I suspected I could do and didn't get right in the previous video. The other thing to note, I had mentioned that the sketch could not be used in a repeated fashion for different configurations. It can, in fact, you can in fact do that. So I'm going to delete this one because I'm going to roll this down one. And actually, let's roll this all the way down to the bottom. And no, it doesn't really matter here. Well, let's just unsuppress one of these. Let's say for some of you it's going to be difficult to get this hand to appear. If that does happen, which I sometimes find it does with me, you can roll back to any one of these features by just right-clicking on it and hitting this rollback button, and it'll go to that feature, and then whatever's above it, it'll leave in place. So I've got my sketch, which actually it's visible at the moment. So yours might be invisible. If it is invisible, just click on that sketch and then make it visible. Once that sketch is visible, I can now use it to create other features. Actually, I'm going to go back to the default one for now. And here's this sketch, which should be available. I click on just one part of it and I say extrude. And you can see I'm extruding in one direction. I'm going to switch directions and just make this about 18 or so, something like that. Okay, so watch what happens here. I want to put a depression in this face using that part of the sketch. So I click on that part of the sketch, and then I say I want to extrude. And you don't need to extrude from the sketch plane. You can extrude from a vertex and offset or another surface or plane. So I'm going to select this top surface, and you can see it's extruding from that surface. I'm using the sketch from the top plane, but I'm using the top face of this item as the sketch surface. Right, so I'm going to give this a fixed figure of, say, 30. A blind, should I say? Let's make that 40. Perhaps that'll be better. That's good enough. Right, so I'm using the same sketch. I'm using it in again and again and again. So right now I don't need to use any sketches. I need to put a sketch onto this face. So I'm going to put a sketch onto it, and I'm going to create a center line, right? And then I'm going to create a slot, right? So the slot, yours will look different to mine. Your slot will be somewhere in here, but there is a slot button in your S key context menu or S key pop-up. If you can't find it in your S key pop-up, then it will be in the just under the rectangle button here in the sketch command bar. I'm going to use this one, and here are a few options. I can sketch a straight slot that's just has two centers. I can sketch a center point straight slot, so it uses a center point as the basis of starting it. I can do an arced. It's one that follows an arc, and it also this one has a center point, and that the second one doesn't. So I'm going to use this one here. All you do is you click and drag in any direction you want. So I could go at an angle if I wanted to, but I want to go vertical, and then the moment you let go, just drag your mouse out to however far you think it should be. I'm going to do the same as a horizontal one. Right. The reason I'm doing two is that I want to connect these two. So I'm going to click inside one, click inside the other while holding the shift button down, and then my context menu appears, and I can use this relation called make equal, and that instantly makes the two of them equal. So from here, if I dimension, let's make this 6, you'll see that the other item follows suit. So the best way to dimension the slot is using the center line, usually. So I'm going to make this about 18, perhaps. Maybe a bit less. 12. Cool. Right, now I can drag these around. They are linked because it seems that Solidworks is established that that straight line and this point should be linked. Okay. What I want them to be symmetrical. So I've clicked on those two features, and then I held the shift button down and held the center button, and I got the symmetrical relation. Okay, and once that's in place, that's great. And I'm going to dimension these, so I want to go from that center line to, well, that point to the center line here, and then I can control how far apart they are. Right, so the only other thing that I need now is to give these a position. Right, remember position. If you don't have position, you don't yet have a dimension. Yeah, that's good enough. And exit that, and then extrude. And I want to extrude all the way through, so I'm going to leave it as it is. And then I want to shell this, so I'm just going to put some fillets in place. That says 10. I think I'll stay with that. And then I want to fillet this. And now there's something I haven't shown you yet, is that if you have this little button in the design tree clicked, show selection toolbar, if you've got it on, if I have something selected and it's in the selection bar, and I hold the shift button down, or I think I don't need to, I just hold, right, I'm just clicking on another feature like an edge. You'll see that a bar like this appears, giving you the option of putting the radius in a whole lot of places at once, and it highlights those edges. So currently, of course, my edge fillet is much too big. Let's just take it down a bit, and you'll see, there we go, it's got all of those. So if I were to click on another line like that, I could now select which set of features I wanted to fillet all at once. I don't need all of those. In fact, I definitely don't want this edge one, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to leave those as they are. I think a bit larger, 3. Let's see. Yeah, that's cool. Right, so with that done, I can now shell this. Let's give it something like 2.5 millimeter thickness. Oh, so that's too big. That might also be too big. No, that's great. That's just right. And then lastly, just one more instance of using the sketch. So I'm going to select that piece there, and I'm going to punch a hole through the top. So I want to go from that surface there, and I want to punch it through, and it's done. So let's just quickly have a look at the configuration manager. So let's go to configuration 2. All right, and you'll see, because I hadn't added any of these features while I was in configuration 2, none of them show. So let's say instead of this going down, I'm going to select that line again. Let's say instead of it extruding by whatever it was, let's make it a whole 40 millimeters. And I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do anything more, because obviously I can keep going, but just to show you the difference between the two configurations, that's the one and that's the other. So I'm using just one sketch. I'm using this sketch here to drive the different configurations. I also can, if I want to, like change certain dimensions here. So if I double click on this, you'll see on the right hand side, I think I've shown you this before, currently this 132 millimeter diameter applies to all configurations. There's a little arrow on the right hand side. If you make it for this configuration and then you alter it, so let's make it 140, see if that'll work. That seems to have worked. That means that dimension only applies to that configuration. So if I double click on that, you see that's changed that dimension, that 132 to 140. So far so good. Now, how do we dimension this? Because this is a symmetrical feature, and I want to show you a little bit about how to dimension symmetrically arranged objects. So go to File, Make Drawing from Part, and then here I can select one of my templates. What I didn't notify you of before is that wherever your file locations are, those file locations will appear in tabs in a row here. So if you don't find the template that you want in one tab, have a look in another. So for instance, in Solidworks, that's a tab which belongs to me, and these templates are my personal business templates. I don't want to use those. I want to use one of these UJ ones. So I'm going to select the largest one, because the sheet size is going to be too large. And then you'll get this in the view palette. You'll get all the views that are available to you. And these depend very much on how you started your sketch, right? So you'll see that the front looks like it does, the right and the top. I can't remember how I started my sketch. I think I started it in the top view. But we are going to be dealing with first angle projection, which has a front view. So I'm going to take the front view across, just drag it across and let go. And if your program is set up correctly, you should be able to just move the mouse over to the right, drop in a left-hand view, and then move it down to the bottom and drop in a top view. And then if you move it diagonally, you'll get an isometric view. This is, let's see, that is, yeah. Actually, this is good enough. What I can show you is that if I wanted to change this arrangement, let's say that that had shown the wrong view, then I could click in only this view. I can't use any of these other views as a basis to change the arrangement, only the original one. So if I go into that one and I decide, no, I don't want this view, I want, let's say, a top view in there instead, which wouldn't be correct, but just to show you, that's what I'd get. So there's a top view, there's a left view, and there is a, it's a kind of a front view, but upside down. So I don't really want that, but just to show you that that's how you can do it. Right, and I want to get rid of this origin because it's annoying. And I also, what I don't like is I don't like the sketch appearing in this model. I suspect it's because I left the sketch visible in the actual model. So to get rid of it, I just click on the sketch, right click and say hide, and it'll hide the sketch. Okay, so in this one as well, you can see the sketch, I can hide it. Let's say I don't like this view. I want it to appear differently. There are two buttons here in the head-up display that you can use. One is rotate view. If you click on it and then you just drag this, you see you can rotate, but it's around a fixed plane or line of some sort. So I could do that, and I could say apply. Apply. Close. It's not really what I want. I want to show this thing from the top. So if this view were not linked to the front view as it is here, I could use this button, 3D drawing view. Currently, you'll see that the little dialog box only has an exit and a few other things. So I can move this around, but the moment I want to say, well, that's the view I want, I've got no option to do that. Okay, so I have to exit it. So I have to either disconnect this view, which I cannot remember how to do it. There is a way to do it. If I find it, I'll let you know. Or I have to recreate the view. So I'm going to delete this view. And the quickest way to recreate it is to just copy another view, another primary view. I wonder if it'll... I'm just going to see if I can copy a secondary view and if that'll do it. So I've said Control-C. I'm going to say Control-V. And then you see now, since it's a secondary view, I can't change what the view looks like. So I'm fixed. This view is sort of fixed to a top view. So I have to copy the primary view, paste it, and now since it's its own primary view and it's no longer linked to this one, I can make it into the isometric. And you can see it's actually changed that isometric view to one which, in this case, I find more suitable. But just to show you how this works, this little button which says 3D drawing view, you'll see there's a tick button. I can actually move it around, say I want to see it like so. This isn't as smooth. I think you can zoom in, zoom to fit. We can zoom to area. So let's say you want to make it bigger. Once you're happy with it, you say okay. Okay, the zoom to area didn't work, but you can change the view. Right, now in this video, I'm not going to really show you how to dimension everything. I just want to show you how to place center lines, and in particular how to dimension these two features here because they are not centered around the rest. Right, so we have an object which is essentially symmetric. I've put in these two slots to show that it can be slightly non-symmetric, but the primary features, the primary outside shape is symmetric. So it really can be dimensioned around a center line, and therefore it should be centered around a center line. So how do you put a center line in? Here's a center line command. It's under annotations, center line. If the view were completely symmetric, I could select this button here called select view. It's not, so I have to select the two outer lines that between which a center line would fit. So just be careful to choose the right lines, otherwise you're going to get one which is off center. Fantastic. And the moment I've got a center line, this line can't be moved left to right. It's independent of this view. So if I move this view up or down, or if I move the primary view left to right, the center line always stays in place. The nice thing about it is sometimes you're going to want to move it out the way, which you can do with will. And you're also going to want to move it up to other views to say that they're connected. If it's a center line which marks the center of a full object, then it needs to be marked as such. So to do that, go to Note, or I can go to my S key. And in the design tree, the third button in this sort of text format dialog box, the third button here says Add Symbol. I click on this button, and here I can select any one of the symbols that I need. So there's centerline, there's degree, there's diameter, there's a spherical diameter, etc., etc. So I want this first one. And here you don't need to, if you click on the line, it's going to give you a leader line. Don't do that. Just click near the line. If it is where you want it to be, or even if it isn't, click again, and you can keep clicking. So I want another one at the top, right? And once you're happy with that, you can hit escape. So these two are at the ends of these lines. I'm just going to move them a little bit closer, like that. Okay, they're a little bit small. You can actually change the font size by just clicking on the left-hand side here and clicking on font, and let's make them say 18. I should have selected the other one to do the two at the same time. But I'm going to have to just do it by hand. So I've marked this now as a center line, which means I should dimension off that center line. But before we get to the actual dimensioning, there are one or two other things I need to show you. One is that anything which is either a circle or a slot needs to have a center mark as a place from which to dimension the position. Although you can actually dimension directly on a circle and another one, and it'll pick the center lines already. So it's not essential, but it does help in many cases. So that would be the position of these two relative to one another. I'm going to put in another center. I'm going to put in a center mark onto specifically this one, and then I want another center line. Oops. Across the circle, which I can't put in using the center line or the center mark unless I go and change the nature of the center mark, which you can do. So I'm going to just use that point as the basis of a hand-drawn center line. I'm going to drag it out, just move my mouse out to the left, and then move it back to the right. And so this center line, as you can see, is now fully defined. It should be connected to this center mark, which it is. I can also center it, I think. Let's just click that and that. No, we can't. Okay, so this is kind of artificial. This line here would not get a center line symbol because it's not the center of this object in the horizontal direction. That would be somewhere, that line would be somewhere there, and it would definitely not mark the center of the object in the sense of dividing it in terms of features equally in half, right? So this is just an ordinary center line. This is a center line marking a completely symmetrical object. We also need some center marks in these two slots. So go to center mark, and you'll see underneath the manual insert options that you have two options here for slots. Actually, you have four. So one just puts a center of the whole slot in, and the other one puts centers at the slot ends. So if I click, so at the moment, sorry, I've got this on linear center mark. Let's go back to single center mark. If I click on the slots on any part of the feature, you'll see it'll put two of those in, and I can keep doing that. Once I'm happy with that, I leave it. But in fact, what I need is I need a center mark from there to well, this one doesn't need it. So let's go back to center mark and put in another one. And this time I'm going to use this linear center mark. I think this would work. And make sure that the connection lines are off and just select between there and there. No, that's not working. All right. So I'm just going to add another one on there and on there. So I can have 3 center marks. I don't know if that's quite acceptable in terms of functions, but in terms of convention, should I say, but I'm going to do it because I want to dimension from the center of this slot to the center of that slot. Here I have to be careful not to select the horizontal part of the center line, because if I do, and I go to there, I should get an angle. There we go, an angle dimension. What I need to do is select from the vertical, from the vertical to the vertical, and then I'll get a dimension. Right, so far so good. Let's move this out the way. I have not put in datums, which I should, so let's just put a few datums in. That'll be one of them. This will be the other one, and this third one will be the third one. Right, so in other words, everything that I dimension should go around this datum. Everything which I dimension upwards from this starting point will go from that point up to those, and then everything to do with the heights will go. So let's just put a few in just to show you. So that'll be one of them, and 2. Those are the only 2 I can put in here. Oops, that's wrong. Right, and then from here it'll be from there to this circle. That's one of them. Right, so I've got it already. I'm not sure where. Let's say okay. Where's that dimension? I don't see it. I'm not quite sure how that works, but let's put in another one from here to that height. Chose the wrong arm. Oops. So I've chosen the wrong. No, that's correct. To horizontal. That's why. Choosing the wrong arm. Okay. This is really puzzling why it says this is already in place, because it isn't. But that's just to give you an idea. So I'm going from the datum. I want to reinforce this over and over. I want you to understand you always dimension the position of things from the datum. So here I have 2 positions for these slots. I've got the 60, that's the distance from the center line. That means that'll be divided equally by 2. And I've got the position from this datum to this circle and to those. So all I would need now is that one there. And then I would need a position here. Seems not to do it. From vertical to the vertical arm. So I'm not quite sure why this is not working. 1 to 2. Let's try it from here to here. Right, there we go. Okay, so there's probably some trick there which I'm missing, but that seems to have worked. So what I've got here is not technically, this isn't quite right. I should actually dimension the feature completely. Don't dimension in 2 different places. That makes it more difficult to read. So everything to do with this feature is now fully described. So those are size dimensions, those 2 there, or geometry dimensions, however you want to look at them. And then these 3 here are position dimensions. Now, what happens if I want to dimension this corner of the feature? If I go back to my model and I have a look at the original sketch, you can see that those were 2 sharp corners, right? And that's how it would be made. It would be made using the geometry of this plane meeting that plane, not the center or the meeting point of two lines running parallel, which would indicate where the fillet starts. So the fillet is like, you should be getting rid of it in a way. So we can do that. In fact, the way to do it is to put in what's called a virtual sharp. So to put in a virtual sharp, you hold the shift button down, click on an edge, keep it held down, click on another edge, and then you go to the sketch environment and you select this point mark, and it'll put in a virtual sharp. So in other words, it's completing the intersection between the two lines. So I'll do that again. In fact, I think you can just click a line, then hold the shift button down, then put in the point. So that's how I want to dimension it. I want to say, well, the distance between these two theoretical points is that dimension there. And then the distance between the starting point, which is this datum here, and the top of that line is that. It says it's driven. I'm not sure why. Right, and then if I wanted to complete this item, it would just be a matter of dimensioning some radii, and then I'd have to put in somewhere in here a section view to show some of the other features, like the edges, although I could probably get them in here. And here I'd put a note to make this easy. I would just say let's see, all face edges, all top face edges, top. Something like that. That might not be quite correct, but that would cover that fillet, and that fillet. Or I might just say, delete these edges, and then I would just put in a multi-jog leader. So I would go from there to, this can be tricky sometimes to get this to multi-jog leader. Right, I'm not going to get this right. Something like that, and then you can connect that to this. It's not, there is a trick to it. That's a bit by the by. I think what I didn't show you before is that for every dimension that you put in or that you click on, you'll get this little box in which you can do all sorts of nice things, like add text above, to the left, to the right, and below. I can even change the symbol in here if I wanted to. Just go to, forget how to do it, but I'll show you how to do that. So that's basically how you use center lines and center marks, and we'll move on to the next video to show you a slightly more complex problem. Thanks for watching. See you there.